So in 1984, Jimmy Page and Paul Rodgers from Bad Company, they put together this supergroup called The Firm. Tony Franklin, amazing fretless bass player, and Chris Slade on drums. And they put out their debut album, and their first single was called Radioactive. And it had this awesome sort of digital robotic sounding, I don't know, guitar lead on it. You know the one I'm talking about, right? It's this one. So yeah, it's just another piece of guitar wizardry by Jimmy Page, amazing us all, right? Except the only problem is, it wasn't Jimmy Page. Hey, welcome back everybody. Yeah, that's true. Jimmy Page didn't play that solo. It was actually played by Paul Rodgers. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to actually show you how that solo works, what it's all about. And I'm actually going to reveal what Jimmy Page did play, because he actually did do some great guitar work on this. That is sort of halfway in and out on the record, but I'm going to show you exactly what he played on that. So hey, if this is the kind of thing that you like and you haven't done so yet, I invite you to jump down and click subscribe. Ring the bell. The bell will let you know when I drop new content, which I do every single week. All my videos have chapters in them, so you can jump right to the part of the lesson that you want to see and bypass what you don't. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, I appreciate that. There's thanks, just like throwing a tip in the tip jar. Or even better, you can join my Patreon page where I've got chord charts and tabs for all the lessons I do on YouTube, just like this one. Links in the description, so check it out. Yeah, so Radioactive, super cool song in my opinion, and I hope so in yours if you clicked on this video. But always wanted to learn that solo, always assumed it was Jimmy Page. And it wasn't sort of until relatively recently that it sort of leaked out or is well known across the internet that actually it wasn't Jimmy Page, that it was Paul Rodgers. So there's a link in the description that's got a story on that, but great video from Professor of Rock that I will link here, where he actually talks to Paul Rodgers, and Paul Rodgers talks about this a little bit, how he had the idea to do what he did, you know, had to propose it to Jimmy, you know, hey Jimmy Page, can I play the guitar solo on this song? How funny is that? But Jimmy was of course gracious, and we have what we have now, and it's awesome. So what is this part? It turns out that it's just a finger exercise that Alexis Korner, he's sort of one of these blues gurus, one of those people that were sort of early evangelists and influenced so many people. But apparently he taught this finger exercise to Paul Rodgers at some point, and here's where it sort of shows up. So before I show you where this is, let's just ground ourselves in the song in terms of the chords, right? So the chords are basically A minor, C, D, and then the little chorus is A minor to G. Not that anybody plays chords like that on the record. I'm just giving you sort of the baseline of what the chords are. Now during the solo, the chords that are happening behind that are A minor and C, just bouncing back and forth. Again, the guitar isn't playing that. That's the groove that the bass has going on. But chordally, that's what's happening. A minor and C. So this shape and where he's playing it, so it's up here between 17 and 19, and you can see over my shoulder, it's this very simple diagonal shape, and it creates this very dissonant set of tones. You're just arranging your fingers on across 3 strings. You're going to start with 6, 5, and 4, and you're just picking those notes down. We're going to go downwards here. We're going to go, well, downwards on the neck, but it's technically in terms of tones, I guess I would call that ascending. So you're going to go 6, 5, 4, then you're going to pick your fingers up and move to the next set of strings, and then do the same thing again, and then again. So you've moved your way all the way across the neck, right? And when you sort of weave them together, right? So on the record, what's happening is Paul Rodgers has that panned on one side, let's just say the right. And he goes ascending, and then he does the exact same thing, descending from the first string down to the sixth string, all the way back down to the sixth string, and then repeats it. All right, so that's happening on one side. On the other side, he's doing the exact same thing in reverse. So where he started ascending on one side, he starts descending on the other side. And then back up. So they're always sort of running counter to one another, you know, depending on which speaker you're listening to. And there's sort of, I'm sure there's like echo and slapback and other things to, you know, to make it a little more interesting. But in terms of the part, that's the part. Super cool and super creative, and how they layer them together is giving you the effect that you're hearing on the record. The last little half measure at the end of that solo, he does that exact same formation. He's just sliding it down to 10th fret to 12th fret. Right? And then again, the other guitar on the other side is going backwards. But that is the part. It's not crazy. It's just that formation moves all the way across and gives you that sort of robotic, quasi-digital sort of sound quality to it, right? So that's what Paul Rodgers is doing during that solo. What is Jimmy Page doing during that solo? Well, the whole thing, like I mentioned, is bouncing between A minor and C in terms of the chords, right? So Jimmy lays down this sort of bed, and I don't know if he did it before or he did it after, but either way, it provides sort of this bed that Paul's solo can sort of shine over, but it still gives some mysterious sound quality that's happening underneath it, right? He also uses a wah-wah for much of it. I'm going to show you the part first, without the wah-wah and without any sort of echo effect or anything, just to show you what he's doing here, right? And the interesting thing is, you don't actually hear this. You hear the very beginning of it, and you hear the very ending of it on the regular record that we're all familiar with. Now, those of you who are around in the 1980s, and this song came out when I was 15, remember 12-inch singles. Remember 12-inch vinyl singles? And they'd have all these great extended remixes of popular songs that you'd be hearing every day. And the Firm did an extended remix of Radioactive, and it's there that you can actually hear Jimmy Page's unmolested, unremixed sort of solo that he plays as the bed underneath what you hear Paul Rodgers do. So here's what the part is. Like I said, I'm going to do it without the wah-wah. I'm just going to show you the part right here. So that's the part that you actually hear leading in on the regular solo. And that's the whole part. That's what he does. So you hear that. You hear that on the regular record too. Jimmy probably was using his telly with the B bender. That was probably a B bender part. Right, doing that. Yeah, so you sort of layer in, there's some slapback echo on it, and you bring the wah into it, and it sounds like... It clicks the wah off at that point. So that's what Jimmy's doing. That's what's happening underneath the crazy Paul Rodgers solo that we all know and love. So anyway, you knit all of those together and it sounds something like this. last things on that song. So the acoustic guitar that you're hearing, I'm not sure if that's Jimmy or Paul, but how it's voiced on the record is he's got that capoed at 3. So he's playing all those chords like, you know, the A minor and C to D, but he's doing that with the context of a capo happening at 3. So, you know, your A minor is now what looks like an F sharp minor, right? If you have your capo here on 3, but he's playing all the chords based on, you know, that capo position there. There's a pre-chorus that moves from F, C to G. Jimmy's part on that is doubling sort of with the bass, and he's just playing. And that resolves with. And you catch great little Jimmy parts on the outro. But what I wanted to spend time on today really was that solo. So that was the firm, radioactive, or as I like to call it, the best solo that Jimmy Page never played. And I hope you learned something new today. So if this is the kind of thing that you like and you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. It helps me out. Ring the bell. The bell will tell you when I drop new content, which I do every week. And let me know in the comments what you thought about this, and if there's another song you want me to take on and do something similar, let me know what that is too. But until next week, take care, everybody.